Hi, I'm Doretha with Live Oak Public Library, and I'm in charge of Recipe Swap. Today, we're going to do something a little different, and we're going to do Recipe Swap via the computer. And today we're going to make air fryer blueberry muffins. Today is my first time to try the air fryer. Several of my coworkers have one, and they really like it, so we thought this would be a good time to test it and see how this works. So to begin with, we're going to put all of our dry ingredients together. We have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to combine all of the dry ingredients into a large bowl. So we'll add that. And then we'll do 3/4 cup of all of the old-fashioned oats into that. We have 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And just get that, it's packed in there, so we can see if we can get that out. There we go. And then our other dry ingredients, which I've already measured out, is 1/2 teaspoon or tablespoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to add all of those in there, and then we're going to mix this all together to get it where it's ready for the wet ingredients, which will go in next. Just kind of chop the brown sugar into the mixture, get it all mixed together good so that your baking powder is incorporated into the flour and the oats. All right, I think that's good enough. So now we're going to combine the wet ingredients into a medium-sized bowl, which I have right here. And we're going to add 1 cup of milk, and 1/4 cup. They called for melted unsalted butter, but this, they also said to just make it room temperature, so you don't want to melt it down by heating it. So you want it to keep its form. I'm just going to clean the paper off with that. Throw that away. And then 2 eggs at room temperature, which I have right here. Oops. You may want to crack this into a separate bowl, which probably would have been a better idea. Let me do that. It's hard to break on a plastic table. So we'll add those. And then we'll combine all of this together. And I guess when you mix it into the flour mixture, it will help it dissipate some. Also, to that, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Got my measuring spoon set for 2 teaspoons. And we'll measure that out. Carefully, although it doesn't matter, you can never get too much vanilla. There we go. To the top. Now, I'm going to hold this over the dry ingredients and see if I can get that butter to separate a little more. I'm just going to dump it in to my dry ingredients, and I'll scrape that butter off the fork. So then we incorporate the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients together, and that does seem to be helping the butter. With I'm using a silicone spatula, which you can kind of mash the butter in once you get it in this dry mixture, and that does seem to help it separate. Mix it really good, but not too much. You don't want it to be like a cake batter, because muffins are a little more coarse than a cake would be. So you want it to still keep its texture. It smells good. Let's see. Clean that off. All right. After this is thoroughly blended, the last ingredient you want to add is your frozen, or you can use fresh blueberries. I've used frozen, but they say in the recipe not to thaw them if you use frozen. So we gently add those in, and we just want to not stir them, but just fold them into the muffin mixture, just like that, to give them a little stir to get into the batter. All right, it's looking pretty good. I'll clean that off. Now, I've preheated the air fryer to 350 previously, so I'm going to turn it back on, and we're going to set the timer for around 13 minutes. The recipe actually says up to 15 minutes, 12 to 15, so I'm going to go with the middle of that, 13 minutes, and we'll check them and see where we're at by then. So after these are mixed, it really smells good. This is a silicone muffin cooker. Spray each little cup with Pam just to make sure that they'll dump out without tearing. And then you put them on this little rack that you cook them with. And then I'll measure probably about 3/4 full for each, so that it won't run over in the fryer. I'm using an ice cream scoop. You can use a spoon or whatever you have to ladle the mixture into the muffin tin, or it's really not a tin, it's a silicone. And this probably would be a great recipe to do with your children even. It's simple enough. You know, they may need help measuring the ingredients out, but and with the air fryer, it doesn't seem quite as scary as using an oven, even though I think, you know, it does get hot, so they still may need supervision. So I'll pull the door open and put the muffins in the rack, and we've got our timer set, and we're good to go. We'll let these cook and we'll check back in a bit. So now the timer's gone off, and we're going to check the muffins again to see if the toothpick comes out clean, and it does. This air fryer seems to cook a little faster, and the muffins to me are a little brown on the top. So during the cooking time, I adjusted the temperature down just a little bit and went for a little longer. So it did say in the recipe that every air fryer may cook a little differently, so you may have to play with it to see what works best for yours. So let me pull this out. It's warm. And the other thing, with any recipe, whether it be something you cook from scratch, or even if it's a box mix, to me, and this is just my thing, I always say that you eat with your eyes, so a pretty plate and a pretty table make food taste better. So we pull these out. They're shaped a little funny, the normal muffin tins, but still staying together. We'll arrange them on the plate like that. And then for your brunch, you would also, you would have to add to this would be like a pretty bowl of fruit, and you can do some quiche or eggs to add to your brunch, and there you've got it. Thank you. If you enjoyed doing the recipe today, stay tuned for more, and thank you for joining us today.